So, hey guys, well, in this lesson, we're going to talk about different funding options. So, how are you going to finance this endeavor? There's so many different ways to fund your facility, so many ways to be creative. I mean, I'll just give you a backstory. With my first location, I used cash. Like I said, it wasn't much. I used cash and some credit cards and store lines of credit to get furniture. That was enough for me to get the doors open, get started, and I got, my first location and got it going until I was able to afford, better stuff and build a house. So it just all depends. So you can, take on debt and equity, and be self-funded. So, pretty much, or you can take outside investor. So let's just go over a few. Debt is when you just get a loan. You say, hey, I'm going to go get a loan. I can get an SBA loan. And right now, they are different uh, lending entities that really they only focus on assisted living because they know that this industry is on upward slide. It's only going to grow. So, and it's only more seniors that are looking for care, and it's not enough care facilities. So you got these banks that are getting ahead of the curve, and they have, they specialize on funding for assisted living. I'll attach a few to the resource page. I'll attach one of the lenders that I use, or a few of the lenders that I use, and just let them know that you got the info from my course, and they'll help you out. The people will help you out. They're really good at it, and they specialize in it. And with, say, that kind of loan, say if you get an SBA loan, they will cover the purchase of the property, they will cover the furniture, and they'll even cover some of your upfront expenses. Like if you have expenses that you have to pay for, as far as like staff, stuff like that, they'll cover that the first month of that. You just have to work it into the loan. So then that's debt, and you figure equity is pretty much you're self-funded. You're pitting your own cash. So you can do debt and equity, where you're gonna have to use some of your own equity to actually take on a debt. So they may want a down payment. So sometimes right now I'm seeing you can do 10% instead of 20. So if you're taking out a loan that's buying a property, let's say SBA, you can get maybe 10%. More than likely it'll be 20. But I have seen some 10% loans go through the pipeline. But it's all depending on your credit and how strong you are on paper. And if you have experience, they want to see, even though you may not have owned an assisted living facility, they'll want to see that you at least have some nursing experience. So, I even tell some of my people who have no experience, you can partner with someone, which is another way of funding. You partner with someone that, say, has a nursing experience, and they don't have to be a 50-50 partner. They can be a small percentage partner, but as long as you have them on paper, you can say, okay, I have a partner that's a nurse, and they can be just a small percentage partner. It's just up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. Self-funded, you save your money up, and you're paying out of pocket. The benefits is you don't have any debt. You just use your own money. I'm a big proponent of, OPM, cash is king. So have your cash sitting aside and then use it to leverage loans and use it to leverage partnerships. And you can finance it, that way. I don't really like using all my money for deals anymore. I either get SBA or I'll take on a partner. And that's the last one we can talk about, is a partnership. So say if you have an investment group or a person and they may want to get into the industry, and you have the the drive to do it, and you want to be the boots on the ground person, you can say, give them your business plan, and you can say, hey, I want you to put up the money. I want you to put up the money. This is what I'm going to do. This is how much we're going to make. It's all here in the pro forma. And you can sit back and collect the check, because you'll have people, that want to make their money work for them as well. So it will behoove them if they want their money to work, for them even more, to invest in something like this, because it's a long-term play where they can make a lot of money every month, and then if you ever want to cash out, you can make millions and millions of dollars of the cash out, depending on how many bids and how much you're making. So they can put up, say, a couple of $100,000 and end up owning a business worth 1.5 million, being half ownership. So, their money has now, tripled or more in a span of 2 years. So, because literally, if you take a house, you purchase a house, that's 300,000, and you put 100,000 into it, you're at 400,000. Now you get it, you just put your sweat equity in, you got clients there, you get 16 bids. You got clients, you're bringing in 30 to 40,000 a month. You get the business evaluated. You make sure all your books is like, pristine, because when you go to these banks, they want to see, or when you're selling a business, they want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. And then they'll say, okay, well, this business is worth 1.5 million or 900,000. So now this person just invested in you in a 2-year span. That person's only put up a couple of $100,000. Now you can sell a business for $1 million or more, and you cash out, take your lump sum of money, go your own way. They take their lump sum of money, go their way, or you can just stay together and just do more. So, I partnered with someone and I ended up selling out, and I took my money and I just, kept going my way. And that person started their own assisted living facility because I didn't want to partner with them anymore. I was like, I may as well make all this money myself. And I just end up leveraging with loans instead of partners. But even on bigger deals where, I couldn't necessarily afford or wanted to put the money into, I'm still open to taking partnerships, but it'd have to be like a larger facility. But, at any point in your business, you can, you should always entertain taking on partners and take any options that you can make it happen. So if you don't have the cash, don't get discouraged. Just put together a strong business plan and tackle it. Or if you do have the cash, you can leverage that cash for a loan and only put a certain percentage of that cash down. And now you have an SBA loan that paid for most of your expenses, and you only have to put 20% or 10% down. So several different ways to skin it. You can go to friends and family route. If you have friends and family that have some capital, you can go to them and say, hey, I'm not going to give you equity in a business, but I'll give you X amount on top of your money once we get open, or once I sell, or whatever deal you want to work with that. Friends and family, in a lot of cases, is always the first, mode of financing to get started. Most people do self-funding and friends and family. And that friends and family can be your bridge loan. So we talk about that as well. So say if you're looking to buy a location and you're getting SBA loan, and say they want you to put 20%. Say you're doing $1 million and they want you to put $200,000 down. You can go to friends and family and say, hey, I need to raise $200,000. And you can do this on a much smaller scale too, but I'm just doing, round numbers. And you can say, hey, I want to raise $200,000. And your friends and family will give you that money. That's a bridge loan, pretty much. So now you've done a property with literally no money down because you raised the equity from your friends and family. And then you make them, they'll sign agreements with them, and you give them terms or whichever way that you're going to pay them back, either as monthly payments or you'll pay them a lump sum in like a year or two, whatever you pay them back. That's still a bridge loan and it's perfectly legal. So now you've got a whole facility with an SBA loan, and you really put no money down. So, it's always different ways to, go about financing. It's interesting because some people get so stuck in like, oh, I don't have enough cash that it's too big for me. And they have all these resources around them. Even like grants, we talked about that before. You can, apply for grants. They have friends, they have family that's well-to-do, and all you sometimes have to do is just come up with a good plan, a good business plan. Because you have people that are in their own lanes that will literally say, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that investment. And especially if they know you're a good person and they know you're a hard worker. And they'll say, okay, well, I can afford to give you 30,000, 50,000 or whatever. And you just scrape money up, put your money together. You go to a lender and you say, okay, how much are you going to need for this deal? You have what you need, you have your business plan, and then you just go hunting that money down. Sometimes it's about like hunting money down. There's no shame in it. All this, people do it all the time. So even, in cases where people have money, they'll still go to hunt money down because they don't want to spend their own money. So never feel ashamed to put together a good business plan and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help? Or, this is what I'm willing to give back to you and monthly or at the end of this term, and just see what people says. And some people, like, I didn't have a bunch of friends and family with a bunch of money, so I just did it my way and I just saved up. And then my second place, I did have an investor. So after I proved myself, after my first small facility, I proved that I can run one. And the investor was like, oh, I went in on this. And I was like, oh, well, now I can build two of them. So instead of me just building one, I ended up building another one at the same exact time that opened like a couple of months after. So I just took that money that I was initially going to do one with, I ended up doing two. So it's just about your tenacity and your will to make this happen. And not being discouraged and not letting people tell you that you can't get it done, because sometimes you look at numbers and it just seems overwhelming, but they're just numbers. As long as you figure out a way to make it happen, it may take you a little longer, but if you have a goal and a dream and you just stick to it, you'll get it done for sure.